Give me a minute and let's talk about sleepless nights in Ukraine. God knows I've had my share here in Kyiv when the neighbors get loud, and God, do they get loud. Well, last night, Ukraine got loud on the occupied territories. Boy, did they get loud. In what appears to be one of the largest and most coordinated attacks of the war, the Ukrainians struck targets from Donetsk to Sevastopol, right down the line. Now, if we start at the bottom, right down here in Sevastopol, this was a large scale drone attack, which may in fact have been a decoy. That is, an attempt to draw attention away from the other areas that came under attack and focus the now limited and rarer and rarer occurrences of air defense in Crimea, away from places like out here on the Spit, where we know one of the largest air defense complexes is. Now, when it comes to the attacks in Crimea, we have very little information at this time. We know that the air defense is there. We know that it was drones that attacked Sevastopol. That's about all we know. Same goes for the attacks on Jankoy. Now, Jankoy is, of course, one of the principal logistical hubs for the Russian military in the temporarily occupied territories. And so you've got, well, here, let's do this. Let's layer in the rail connections. So now if you take a look, I've added these red arrows here that give you a rough idea of where the rail lines are and how they flow through here. From Russia across the Kerch Strait Bridge, down to Sevastopol, up to Jankoy, and then there are two rail bridges across into mainland Ukraine. We can see that Jankoy got hit. Lots of warehouses there, rail hubs, ammo depots. We don't know what was hit, but all of that is there as a legitimate military target. Then just across the bridge here in Chernihiv, there are warehouse complexes. Again, ammo depots, equipment, that sort of thing. Now, you follow those lines up. Outside of Melitopol here, there's the port infrastructure that was hit, as well as the concrete plant. Now, dig it. If you were following along last night, in the live, we were talking about ATACMS in Ukraine. And we don't really know. We think the Ukrainians got 20. If you've been playing ATACMS bingo along with me and keeping track of how the Ukrainians have used those ATACMS, like me, you probably think that it's been somewhere between 16 and 20, so they may have exhausted all the ATACMS, or they might still have a few in reserve. Well, last night, there are reports that these were ATACMS that hit here. So either new ones have arrived in secret, or it was the lower level of that, the lower limit of that guesstimate, and only 16 have been used, and the last 4 were used last night, or some number of them were used last night, if in fact it was ATACMS. But those are the reports coming in. Now, we take a look up here and see those 3 explosions there in Donetsk. Those represent a massive fuel depot being hit last night. And then in addition, in the last week, another fuel depot and an ammo depot. Now, the implications of that, and if we look at where these hits are compared to the logistics lines, it appears that this was a massive strike against Russian logistics. That gets reinforced when we add in this strike here, which you'll notice is a different color because that was apparently a partisan strike. Not a HIMARS strike like so many of these others, not an ATACMS missile strike, no. Not drones, but partisans acting around Melitopol to blow up a fuel train. Fuel depots. Now you look up there, see that red circle up there? That's where the Russians are advancing. They're pushing hard. They're sending wave after wave of men at Ukrainian positions. Fuel depots, ammo dumps. If you're cranking out an offensive, your logistics are imperative. You can't move forward with fuel. You can't move forward without ammunition. Could these strikes be an effort to castrate or interrupt the logistics lines to the front so that the Russians have to cease these offensives and give the Ukrainians on the front lines a little break up there? It could be. It could be. It smells like that. It sort of looks like that. Now, look, the Russians have other supply lines and logistics lines directly from Russia across the temporarily occupied territories. So this is not a death blow, shall we say. But it certainly can't help. More importantly, what does it do to the southern front logistics lines? It cripples them. Now look, what you got is you got the Russians in the north pushing the Ukrainians hard, trying to draw all their attention up north. But the Ukrainians are keeping their eye on the prize. They know what this war is about. They know what they need to do to defeat Russia. They need to reclaim Crimea. They need to put Crimea under siege this winter. Cut that Kerch Bridge, cut those rail bridges, take back Kherson. And it looks to me like what they're doing is they're doing everything they can to cut the logistics for the Russian army, to denude their ability to continue to prosecute this war, while at the same time preparing the battlefield for an advance into cut Crimea off and begin the siege of Crimea. The impact of this should not be overstated. These are solid hits against the logistic lines that will complicate matters for the Russians. But we all know what's really got to happen next is that bridge right there needs to go. And I sure am hoping that as a Christmas present to the Ukrainian people, and I don't care if it's on the 25th or the 6th, but as a Christmas present to the Ukrainian people, I hope Zelensky and Zaluzhny are thinking about the Kerch Bridge. Thank you, my friends. Hey, Bobby, this one is for you, pal. Good morning. Enjoy your coffee.